Imagine going to your asylum interview, ready to explain your case, only to face an officer who won't let you speak, insults you, or even yells at you. Yes, this actually happens. I saw it firsthand during my time working for the government's asylum program. To be sure, your asylum interview is almost certainly going to be harder than you think, and it might turn out to be downright brutal. In this video, I'll reveal 3 major red flags that signal your interview is going off the rails, and I'll give you a step-by-step action plan for what to do when an asylum officer crosses the line. And we're starting right now. I'm Brian Manning, and I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, well, I help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Let me know in the comments if you've got an asylum case pending, or maybe you're considering applying. And listen, I'd especially like to hear from you. If you've been waiting for an asylum interview with USCIS for multiple years, let me know in the comments how long you've been waiting. Your asylum interview determines whether you can build your future in the United States or may instead face deportation to a place where you fear harm. But unfortunately, sometimes these crucial interviews spin out of control with misbehaving asylum officers throwing you for a loop. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do if your interview starts heading toward disaster. I'm going to tell you about 3 major red flags that require immediate action in your asylum interview. And then we'll dig into how to address these kinds of problems. Okay, red flag number 1, the officer won't let you talk. While it's normal for officers to keep you focused on their questions, some barely let the applicant speak. Here's a real example. If they ask, how many times were you threatened? And you start explaining, well, officer, it's hard to say because there were many phone calls, plus someone left a bullet on my doorstep, and, well, they might cut you off saying, listen, I didn't ask for all that, just give me a number or say I don't know. Well, that's crossing a line. You see, complex situations involving threats and persecution can't always be reduced to simple numbers. So in this case, you could say something like, well, officer, I can't give an exact number because I lost count of the threatening calls, but including those calls, the bullet left at my house, and one face-to-face threat, I estimate at least 18 times. Would you like me to explain each incident? All right, red flag number 2, the officer becomes insulting. So I've heard officers say things like, do you really expect me to believe that? Or how could you possibly think something so outlandish? This is completely unprofessional and inappropriate. Even seemingly neutral language can become offensive when delivered with a condescending tone. During my time as an asylum officer, I saw this happen far too often. By the way, if you want to maximize your chances for asylum success, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so that you don't miss the insights that I share on this channel. Okay, red flag number 3, the officer raises their voice. Yes, this actually happens more than you might think. When I was an asylum officer, I had a colleague who would literally yell at applicants when he got frustrated. And this is, of course, absolutely unacceptable behavior from a government official who's supposed to be conducting a non-adversarial interview. All right, so what should you do when these red flags appear? Like, if you feel like the officer is truly being unfair or unprofessional, what should you do about it? Well, here's your detailed action plan. First, take careful mental notes of exactly what's happening. Try to remember specific words and exchanges. This will be crucial if you need to escalate the situation. The more precise details that you can recall, the stronger your case will be if you need to file a complaint. Second, address the issue directly with the officer. Say something like, officer, I feel like I'm not being allowed to explain myself fully. I'm trying my best to answer your questions, and I ask that you please be a bit more flexible so I can properly present my case. And if that doesn't work, or if you're too shaken to continue, well, you'll need to escalate. You should ask to speak to the officer's supervisor. Now, the asylum officer's supervisor has the title Supervisory Asylum Officer, or SAO. Simply say, I would like to speak to your SAO, please. And if the officer resists or tries to continue the interview, firmly repeat, I don't wish to continue right now. I'd like to speak to your SAO, please. The officer will then go and get their supervisor. Now, they might take you out to the lobby to wait for the SAO to come to you, and it might take a while, so be patient. When speaking with the SAO, remain professional and composed. Don't disparage the officer. Remember, they're colleagues. So stick to objective facts about what happened and request a new interview with a different asylum officer. I recommend that you not agree to go back and finish the interview with the same asylum officer with whom you began that day. Why? Well, because things have gone too far at this point for you to get a fair shake. You've gone over that person's head by taking your concerns to their supervisor, potentially getting them in trouble. I don't think it's a good idea to leave your case in this asylum officer's hands. I think your chances are better with what will effectively be a fresh start with a different asylum officer, almost certainly at a later date. If the SAO is not helpful, like if they try to insist that you go back and just finish the interview with the same officer, well, you can ask to speak with the section chief, who's the next level up in the chain of command. Now, after your asylum interview, whether it's a truncated one or a full interview, you can also file a written complaint with the asylum office director. There's at least some chance that doing so will lead to a good outcome in your case, since presumably the offending officer will know in making their decision that the case is of interest to the boss of the entire office. At a minimum, these complaints may lead to repeat offenders getting fired eventually, sparing future asylum seekers the injustice of dealing with these folks. Now, send any such complaint as a PDF attachment to the asylum office's email address detailing exactly what occurred. Ask in your email for confirmation that this is going to be transmitted to the director. Now, for serious misconduct like fraud or corruption or sexual harassment or anything really grave, you should file a report with the DHS Office of Inspector General and consider contacting law enforcement if you think a crime may have been committed. All right, here are some actionable tips that can make a huge difference if things go bad at your asylum interview. Number one, write down everything that happened as soon as you leave the office. Memories fade quickly and details matter. Two, always use objective language when describing problems. Stick to facts, not emotions. Three, keep copies of any written complaints that you submit. And four, consider having a lawyer represent you at your rescheduled asylum interview. It's always good to have a lawyer. It's probably even more important in this context. Now, remember, most asylum officers are professional and fair, but now you know exactly what to do if you encounter one who is not. You deserve to have your case heard fairly and respectfully. If you're ready to take the next step and get help with your asylum case, then call my office today. That number is 713-909-0401. And remember, we help people all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you live. Call us now to schedule an asylum strategy session so that we can help you to secure your future in America through asylum. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's truly an honor to serve you in your asylum journey.